Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is titled The Keys to the Kingdom. It's 2026. Today we take for granted that our messages are end-to-end encrypted. We see that little padlock icon in our browsers and feel safe. But 34 years ago, in 1992, the digital world was a battlefield. This year marks the 34th anniversary of the cypherpunk mailing list, the ground zero for a revolution you've likely never heard of, but whose weapons you use every single day. They were a decentralized group of activists, math geniuses, and rogue programmers. They didn't use guns. They used high-level cryptography. Today, we look at the modern reality of mass data surveillance and the rise of Bitcoin through the lens of the original crypto wars. This isn't just a story about code. It's a story about the struggle between the state and the individual over who owns the keys to the information age. The Clipper chip. To understand the system, you have to look at the surface level spark that ignited the flame. In the early 90s, the US government saw the rise of the internet not as a playground, but as a threat to national security. Their solution? The aforementioned Clipper chip. The government attempted to mandate this hardware backdoor in all telecommunication devices. Their intention would allow federal agencies to listen to private digital communications, just like this one, to monitor bad actors. The cypherpunks' reaction. It wasn't just security. It was a direct assault on digital autonomy. Imagine a world where the government has a spare key to every house ever will be built. That was the Clipper chip. The cypherpunks decided it was time to change the locks. Munitions and manifestos. Here's a quote from the cypherpunks manifesto. I want you to chew on it and think about it. Privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. We, the cypherpunks, are building the systems that allow anonymous transactions to take place. That was Eric Hughes in 1993. The systemic root of this conflict was a fundamental friction. The government's desire for total oversight versus the individual's rights to exist privately in a connected world. The tension wasn't just philosophical. It was legal and economic. Code as weapons. At the time, the state classified strong encryption code as munitions, literally on the same legal level as fighter jets and tanks. Illegal export. This meant that exporting certain lines of code was a federal crime. The struggle. This created a power struggle over the keys to the future. If you control the math, you control the information. Through the cypherpunks mailing list archives, we can see the original debates and code snippets that formed this digital underground. They weren't just chatting. They were engineering a new social structure. Freedom and the future. Years later, Julian Assange, along with Jacob Alberman and others, codified these ideas in the cypherpunks, freedom, and the future of the internet. They argued the internet had become a tool for the state to achieve a level of surveillance that would make Orwell blush. Their framework views this as a permanent systemic power struggle. The user versus the state. It is a battle between the decentralized user and the centralized power of the state. The solution, only defense, is proactive privacy. Using math to make surveillance physically impossible rather than just legally discouraged. The legacy of the 90s. As we mark 34 years since the first billing list message went out, the crypto wars aren't over. They just changed shape. From the blockchain to the encrypted apps on your phone, the fingerprints of the cypherpunks are everywhere. They taught us that in a digital age, privacy isn't something you're given. It's something you have to build. Now I want to go more in depth. A little overview of what we talked about in today's episode. The cypherpunk movement emerged in the late 1980s and early 1990s as a proactive response to the digitizing world. While many saw the tool for connection, cypherpunks saw it as a potential tool for mass surveillance and sought to bake piracy directly into the code of the web. The core philosophy is best summarized by Eric Hughes mentioned earlier in A Cypherpunk's Manifesto in 1993. Privacy is necessary for an open society in an electric age. Cypherpunks write code. Their core philosophy was code as law. The movement was distinct because it wasn't just a political philosophy. It was an engineering mission. They believed privacy is the power to seek selectively, reveal oneself to the world, whereas secrecy is hiding something entirely. 2. You shouldn't have to trust a government or corporation to protect your data. Instead, you should use mathematics, or otherwise known as cryptography, to make it impossible for them to access it. 3. They advocated for change through building tools, rather than through traditional lobbying or protests. And to go to more deeper in depth on the key figures and their innovations. The movement was centered around the cypherpunk mailing list, an email group where some of the most influential technologies of the modern era were first discussed. Dave Shum. His main impact was that he invented blind signatures, the first attempt at anonymous electronic cash. Or, you might have heard of him, the main contribution he did is called DigiCash. Adam Back. He created a proof-of-work system to fight spam, later used Bitcoin. A contribution of his? Hashcash. Phil Zimmerman. His main impact was that he made military-grade email encryption available to the public. Or, more precisely, the contribution was called PGP, Pretty Good Privacy. And of course, the aforementioned Julian Assange. She was an early member and applied cypherpunk transparency ideals to journalism via WikiLeaks. And then, in the 1990s, the U.S. government classified strong encryption software as ammunition, like we mentioned before, classifying it like tanks or missiles or fighter jets. Cypherpunks fought back by printing the source code for PGB in a book and shipping it overseas, arguing that it was for protected speech under the First Amendment. The government eventually backed down, leading to the secure internet, or otherwise known as HTTPS, we use today for banking and shopping. The quest for DigiCash. Before Bitcoin existed, the cypherpunks spent 2 decades trying to create a e-cash that was anonymous and decentralized. They wanted to decouple money from the state to ensure financial privacy. Early attempts like B-Money and BitGold laid the technical groundwork for Satoshi Nakamoto to eventually launch Bitcoin in 2009. The cypherpunk influence is everywhere today. Like apps like Signal and WhatsApp both use end-to-end encryption, a concept championed by the Limanalists. The Tor project enables anonymous browsing to protect activists and whistleblowers. Blockchains, the decentralized nature of crypto assets, is the future. It's the ultimate realization of the movement's goal to remove trusted third parties. That is all that I have on the cypherpunks and their movement and the work that people did, so we have a little bit more of digital privacy and protection in today's digital world. Thank you and good night.